want to welcome you to Working Women's Wednesday today, June 23rd. Our topic is Dream with Ambition, and looking forward to hearing what the presenters have to say to us today. I don't think there are, but let me introduce myself. My name is Kathy LaVoy. I'm the current chair of the WRC. Work with Cone Health, and I've been privileged to be part of WRC for about 3 years now. I'm just finishing up my third year. Want to introduce, if there are any, I don't think there are, elected officials or anybody running for office. If so,
I have this.
Here's somebody, but I don't think they are intending to be heard. So if you would mute your microphones, that would be awesome. I want to run through our sponsors for today. Big shout out to LabCorp, our visionary sponsor. They have no announcements today, but want to give them a shout out for sponsoring us and helping us to do what we do. Our sustaining sponsors are Walmart Supply Chain and Impact Alamance. Thank you all for helping us do what we do. Our supporting sponsor is Glen Raven, and it does look like we have an announcement from Diana.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for giving me a minute to kind of give a quick update on what's going on at Glen Raven, because I know it's hard to know how businesses have been affected through all the pandemic and everything, but we're fortunate to have a really extremely high demand for our products. I think with people being at home during COVID, that, you know, the upholstery fabric and fabric for outdoor spaces has been very high in demand. So we're very fortunate for that, and it's brought about a lot of increase in employment opportunities as we continue to grow. So if you want to find out about those opportunities, definitely you can go to the Glen Raven website. Just Google Glen Raven Careers and it'll get you there. We're also on Indeed and LinkedIn. On our career page, you'll see 50 plus jobs that are posted. More than half of those are in the Burlington area. Everything from early career, new college graduates. We even have one internship out there that hasn't been filled, up to experienced professionals. Many of those opportunities also are for associates at our manufacturing facilities that are local. And again, you know, just in case people aren't familiar with Glen Raven, we offer very competitive pay and benefits, and even some unique benefits that you don't find anymore, like a pension plan, in addition to a really nice 401k match. Our plants are modern, they're clean, temperature controlled environments, great family environment to work in. Employees have access to a free medical clinic on site, staffed by Moses Cone clinicians. We have on-site gym, walking trails, grab and go lunch areas, wellness programs, and a lot more that we offer to employees. And most of our professional positions right now are going to also offer a flex schedule option where people can work remotely for a couple days a week. So we always try to be very competitive and hope that you'll spread the word to anybody who's interested in coming and being part of our team. So thanks again for the time. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Diana. And I would agree, it is good to hear an update and hear how COVID has or has not, or has positively affected businesses. So thank you for that update. Anybody know of someone looking for employment? Direct them on to Glen Raven. Our major sponsors, thank you to Elon University. Thanks, Alamance Chamber of Commerce. I want to pause and see if they have an announcement. Okay. Announcement? Is that? Nope. Proponent, Federal Credit Union. Always Best Care Senior Services. Nelson Technology. Barbara.
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning, or I should, well, it's still morning. Good morning, everybody. I work all the time, so it's hard to pay attention to the time. But yeah, Nelson Technologies. We also have a sister company, Exceed Technology. We help businesses stay connected with IT solutions. We do your back-end monitoring, making sure you're staying safe, make sure you don't have the scammers sneaking in, that sort of thing, keep you optimized and running. We also do voice over IP phone service for businesses. And that's something that really helps a lot of businesses save money. And we love nonprofits. So that's why we sponsor. But that's our thing. We want to keep everybody connected and safe. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you, Barbara. We've got Ancora Wealth Partners is also a major sponsor. Truliant Federal Credit Union. Any announcement? Anything, Tommy? Okay.
No announcements today. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Tommy. Prime Personnel Resources is also a major sponsor. Thank you to you all of you major sponsors who keep us going. And our corporate sponsors are Milestone Wealth Management, Twin Lakes Community, Katie Smith Photography, and Gillian Bell Mosier. Again, thanks to all our sponsors. We couldn't do what we do without you all. So we do thank you very much for your support of our organization and our community. Want to give a shout out to all of the WRC board members. We have an amazing board, very dedicated folks in the community who are supporters of the organization and who are a hardworking group of people, and they're kind of fun. So want to give a shout out to the board. Thanks for being a part of the board and of this organization. Also a shout out to all of the supporters, all of you individual supporters of the WRC. As you all may know and remember, we have just moved from a membership model to a supporter model. We're glad to answer questions you may have about that, but really what that means is all of your support goes to the Women's Resource Center financially. It goes to us and it doesn't go to a membership fee. It's all tax deductible, and it really acknowledges anybody who supports our organization financially with their time, with programming and that sort of thing. So thank you to all of our supporters and all of you who participate in our events and who volunteer and come to programs. We are better because of you, and we are making the community a better place, and we're happy to do it with you. Our next Working Women's Wednesday is August 25th. It's hard to believe that we are winding down the Working Women's Wednesdays for the year, but here we are in the middle of June. So we're looking forward to seeing you in August 25th for our next Working Women's Wednesday. Again, we're so glad to have you here. We know that your time is valuable, and this is lunchtime, and we're so glad that you came to share it with us, and really appreciate all of you for being here. And with that, I will turn it over to our amazing Executive Director, Susan Watson.
Good morning, everybody. I'm just excited to be here today. I started out my day with one plan and kind of ended up with another this morning. I had a doctor's checkup, eye checkup. And so I got over to, I live in Greensboro, had the appointment scheduled. They were running a little behind. I got put in a room that was a different doctor. All that to say, my eyes have been dilated this morning. So if you see me squinting or turning away from the light or something, that's what's going on here. But I am glad to be here, and we're glad you're here today. This is our final Working Women's Wednesday of our fiscal year. So we will take a break in July and come back really strong in August. Kathy's already given you the date, but we are planning for it to be in person. And our speakers today, you might, I don't know if this is your first Working Women's Wednesday or not, but we pretty much average 75 to 80 in attendance at Alamance Country Club for luncheon speaker series. And we really are looking forward to getting back to that. So I hope that you'll plan to join us. We've got some great speakers also coming up in the fall. Our committee is actively working on next year. We have, our team is changing a bit. Melissa Luck, I'm going to give you a shout out today. It's kind of emotional for me because this is your last Working Women's Wednesday on our team. And she is headed off to grad school next month. So we are cheering her on as much as we're going, oh no, we've got to change. And change is hard, right? That's what we help our clients do every day. We hold their hands and listen to their stories and help them navigate life transitions. And so Melissa's going off on a new life transition, and the Women's Resource Center will have its own transition. And we've hired a new person to take this client resource counselor role, and she will start the 6th of July. Her name is Catherine Brown. So we're excited to welcome her to our team. We're also interviewing a couple of social work grad students for the fall and spring semesters. And so that always adds a wonderful element to our team and offers us the capacity to serve more people. That's about all the news that I have this morning. I will say we had a workshop earlier this week with Trudy Tobias, and it was on making decisions. She comes back about every month or every other month, and she's a licensed clinical counselor and also a personal reinvention coach for women. And when we posted that she was going to be doing a workshop on making decisions, we immediately had people sign up for that. And it was a great workshop. Kate has posted it out on our YouTube channel. And so if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, we are recording our events and having them to share later on, which is really pretty exciting. Missed one. I think they're mostly up from the last few Working Women's Wednesdays. And as time goes by, we hope you'll check that out. I'm going to ask Kate Meyer on our team, our outreach coordinator, to introduce our speakers today.
Pleasure of introducing
bios and share that.
Okay. So, good morning. I get the pleasure of introducing the speakers today. I'm very excited to do so. We have Patti Bates. She's a graduate of North Carolina State and control supervisor. She then joined Glen Raven as an
she broke up. I'm not sure where she is right now.
Yep, it looks like they may have, their internet may have gotten wacky. Kate, are you back? Yep, internet went wacky.
Did you finish the introduction?
That's a good question. Did I? Did anybody hear it? I read through yours, Patti, so I don't know where we dropped off.
Kate, just to give you an indication, this is Tommy. We didn't hear most of her introduction. It stopped pretty much at that she works at Glen Raven.
Perfect. Thank you, Tommy. So I'll start over. So Patti is the general manager of protected market for Glen Raven Technical Fabrics. She's a graduate of North Carolina State and began her career at Haynes Printables as a quality control supervisor. She then joined Glen Raven as an industrial process engineer and has held several titles within the organization. She served on multiple industry-related organizations, including chair of the United States Industrial Fabrics Institute. Patti is very active within our community as well. She serves on the board of the Piedmont chapter of JDRF, the board for Crossroads Sexual Assault Response and Resource Center here in Burlington, and she is an elder at First Presbyterian Church in Burlington. And Patti and her husband Harold have 2 children, Elizabeth and Robert. We also have Mia Alberto with us today, and Mia is a Vice President of Operations and New Products for Glen Raven. She holds a bachelor's in Business Administration and Management from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, and a Global Executive Master's in Business Administration from Duke University's Fuqua School of Business. Mia began her extensive career with Glen Raven in 2009 as a credit collections analyst. And between that time and now, she's advanced to her position as Vice President of Operations. She's held other positions within the company, such as Filtration Market Manager, Industrial Business Manager, and Director of Operations. Her free time is spent traveling, exercising, or with friends and family, specifically her puppy Macho. Mia and her husband, Justin, are expecting their first child this October. So I will turn it over to you ladies. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you, Kate. Thank you for your kind introduction. We certainly appreciate being invited to speak today. I wish we were in person, just like everybody else has said at the other meetings. I have attended several of your working women's luncheons, so I'm very, very honored to be here. So I thought, Bea, you want to pull up our presentation?
Sure. We'll pull that up.
I thought I'd start out just by speaking briefly about Glen Raven, and then I'll go into some of my experiences within Glen Raven. Diana certainly did a great shout out for us a few minutes ago. But while Glen Raven is a major employer and philanthropic company within our community and is much appreciated, there's still a great number of people in our community who do not realize just how big and global Glen Raven is. So what we have here is just sort of a map of where we're located. This shows all of our manufacturing sites. We have sales offices in over 23 countries. We have roughly 2,800 associates. So we're a pretty sizable company and certainly well respected in our industry, in the textile industry. We're very well known and have very strong relationships. As a matter of fact, a lot of my colleagues in the industry many times will call me to find out how can they get a job with Glen Raven, because we have such a great reputation and are so well known. So I take that very much as a compliment. But so this kind of shows some of our manufacturing facilities throughout Asia, India, in the US, and in Europe. So Mia, you want to go to the next one? So how has Glen Raven been successful, especially in the textile industry and all the publicity you've heard over about the textile industry? I will give another shout out right now. Diana mentioned our umbrella business right now. I'm going to talk about my particular business, which is also growing rapidly. We're about 141 years old now, and we're probably going to have our best year ever this year. So that kind of goes a long ways to a lot of what you read in the paper. But Glen Raven has been an innovator over the years. I'm quite excited to be talking to the working women of this group to tell you that we invented pantyhose. And I know you're thrilled to hear that news. And I'd be surprised if any of you still buy pantyhose. But in 1959, we actually had a division that made ladies' pantyhose. And during World War II, we were a major supplier of parachutes to the military. We also believe You can hardly see it on the right side, the flag. Glen Raven, we believe that we were the first flag on the moon when man first landed on the moon. So we have a lot of things in our history and in our culture that has ignited a spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation over the years. Go ahead, Mia. This shows some of our brands. What we're probably best known for is Sunbrella, which was invented somewhere around 1961 by Mr. Roger Gant. But we also have quite a few other brands that are prominent in our industry, including our Strata brand, which is in infrastructure and construction, and we also have our own logistics business. So a lot of companies around the world associate us by the different brands that we have. So going to the next slide, I will tell you the business that I'm particularly responsible for, and we call this business Glengard. Glengard, we produce fabrics within Glen Raven that provide protection from fires. The fabrics are fire resistant as well as arc resistant. So we're providing fabric to people who manufacture garments and to sell to the Exxons, to the Duke Energies, to the Chevrons, to major oil and gas companies in the US, to major utility companies in the US. And we are very much a growing business within Glen Raven. As you may have heard about a week ago, there was a major chemical explosion in Illinois, which now has a major class action lawsuit against this company. So there'll be a major investigation on the safety procedures of this company, as well as were they wearing the proper PPE, which is what we are providing. So our fabrics minimize injuries to employees who are exposed to fire or arc flashes. So very unique product, very technical product. It's very much a technical sale. But I would ask you, how many women do you think are in this industry? You know, it's changing, it's growing. Women are becoming part of this industry, but as a general manager of this business, yes, I'm dealing primarily with men, primarily in the Gulf Coast, some in the Northeast when it comes to utilities. So it's been a very unique experience for me. So let's talk about women in particular. Women have made a lot of progress over the years. We did some research in 1985, which is when I graduated from NC State. There were only 26 women in the House and only 2 in Senate. And today we have 132 women who hold prominent congressional seats, and we have our first female vice president. The 2020 races for House and Senate, women candidates actually outraised men financially for their seats for the first time. And they also accounted for 33% of all the donations to congressional candidates. So women are making a huge leap here and are certainly having a major influence in what develops in our country. But the hard truth is, Mia, switch on, we still have a lot of work to do. This is some information that we found recently, that while we are making a lot of progress, we're still very underrepresented in the senior management and the C-suite, so to speak. Even though we're 60% of all graduates, even though we have a lot of representation in middle management, you will not see throughout the US particularly, and I believe the numbers are even worse for people of color or nationality, et cetera. So we still have a great deal of work to do in order to move up that pyramid. Another bit of information that we had is while women account for 30% of manufacturing jobs, and I'm distinguishing ourselves because one of the reasons why Stephanie asked me to speak is that I do work for such a traditional manufacturing company. So women are only making up for 30% of that workforce. However, but if you look at manufacturing, 29.3% have women in leadership, in leadership positions. And then when you look at your education, for example, 74%, financial activities, 53%. And I know that Linda was talking earlier about, some of her experiences. I was listening in on you, Linda, but this is a pretty good representation of what you see. So if you think about women who are trying to work in the construction industry or manufacturing or transportation, it's very little representation going on there. And a lot of work needs to be made in those areas. At Glen Raven, we have just launched a social sustainability program, and I would encourage you to go online to look at the many different avenues of this. Only one aspect does address women in leadership. And Mia told me this, only 48% of companies really have not only a diversity, but an inclusion program. So our sustainability initiative is not all around environmental. It's about community involvement and more of an inclusion process. So today at Glen Raven, we have 30% of our leadership are women. Is that something that we're necessarily proud of? No, but we've made tremendous progress over the last few years. So we've set goals that by 2025, that we would at least have as frontline supervisors, 25% in the workforce. So typically what you've seen in my industry or in manufacturing is women are going to be in marketing, women are going to be in design, women are going to be in financial services or human resources, but you're not seeing as many women actually as frontline supervisors in our manufacturing facilities. So this is a major initiative for us to tackle, and I believe it's very, very, very attainable. So I'm going to talk a little bit about me, what my journey has been. I was born and raised in Burlington. My father actually worked for Glen Raven for a number of years. So Glen Raven's been a major part of my family for practically all my life. I started out at Peace College, at the time was a 2-year school, and I then wanted to go to state and I wanted to major in textile management. My father was okay with that. My mother was not okay with that. My mother was, we really think it'd be better if you were a music teacher, because what woman really would want to go live in some small town and be a third shift supervisor? That's not the kind of life I had in mind for you. How in the world will you get married and have children and be a mother? Now keep in mind, my mother was a stay-at-home mom, so very, very different perspective. But it's turned out okay. This journey is not so much what I'm saying on this map. I'm trying to outline all the different experiences that I've had, whether it's through my career, whether it's personal, through the birth of my children, or the involvement that I had with my children's activities over the years, my travel experiences, particularly with Glen Raven. But what I want you to notice here is that this is a winding path. So much of the time we talk about a corporate ladder. How do you rise up the corporate ladder? That's really not my advice, and it's really not how it's working out now. What we find is we are trying to find people who are able to do a lot of different jobs, and their path kind of weaves and slowly moves up in the corporation. So it's very important that you demonstrate flexibility, you gain broader experiences in your jobs. I started out as an industrial engineer. I went to human resources. I mean, how related is that? Then went into a purchasing role, and then was asked to be a VP of manufacturing for several of our facilities. Now, I looked at my boss when he asked me that, and I thought I was being punished, because why was he sending me out to this job? And I said, you know, I really don't know that I can fix a dye formula or design a weave pattern. I mean, I have very basic knowledge of all this. And he said, Patti, what I'm looking for is leadership. I'm looking for somebody who's strategic, who can communicate, and can hold people accountable. He said, you've got the strongest team in the industry. They'll handle the rest. So that taught me a lesson, and I tremendously benefited by that experience. But I would also encourage you to not only get your leadership exposure and opportunities at work, reach out into the community, serve on boards, serve in committees around the community, develop leadership skills by your exposure to so many different areas around you, because it's not all about work and learning at work. Your development is so comprehensive of so many things that you do. I would also encourage women to pay attention and to be open-minded about your career experiences and the things you choose to do. We learn by watching other leaders, men and women. We learn who we admire, who leads a meeting very well, who makes a great public speech. But we also learn from those who are horrible leaders. You observe this behavior. You observe how they treat people. You observe how they are horrible communicators. You observed how they're not well liked. You observed all these things. And so it's just as important that you pay attention to both sides there. So I'm going to move on to one other chart that I have, mentorship. I'm very much a fan of mentorship. Mentorship has played a major role in my development. And as you will see on the screen, all of them but one are men. Men have been a tremendous support and tremendous mentors for me. So please, as women in the workforce, do not discount men as mentors, and do not discount young mentors, young people working for me. Trust me. I mean, Mia's on here and she's going to speak here in a minute. I've learned every bit as much from my younger mentorees in this organization as they have learned from me. They certainly keep me up to speed on everything and all the scoop. And there's a lot of things that I just simply wouldn't know about if I did not have them here at work with me. So the mentorship is so important because it helps you develop confidence. And the feedback is so important because positive feedback and constructive feedback. I've received a great deal of both over the years. There have been many times over the years I was told, speak up. You need to speak up more in the meetings. Yes, you're the only woman there, but speak up. You have something to say. And then I've been told the other side of that. You need to tone that down just a little bit. You were way too aggressive in that meeting. So that honest feedback, that trusting relationship is so important. So now I'm going to turn it over to one of my young mentorees, Mia, and she will, while I shared my perspective, I've been with Glen Raven 33 years. Mia's been with us around 10, so she may have a little bit of a different perspective.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to speak to this, and I want to thank Patti for including me in this discussion. This is such an important thing to talk about, and just really impressed with this organization and these luncheons. It sounds like a really inspirational meeting that you all have. So I kind of framed the start of my presentation just like Patti's, talk about a little bit about where my career came from and where it's gone. We talked about the title of this presentation is Dream with Ambition. And I think the main thing that Patti came across and that I'm also going to talk about is just, continuing to say yes to opportunities. We started off the presentation today, everyone was talking about what they thought they were going to be when they grew up. And it's just so interesting to me because you get this mindset, and a lot of people just get this mindset, this is what I want to be, this is where I want to go, and it'll pigeonhole you a lot. If you continue to say yes to opportunities, they'll take you in winding paths and directions and just open you up to incredible opportunities that you never thought you would even enjoy. And that's a lot about what my career has been. So I have a very similar start to Patti. I was born and raised in Burlington. I had a little different upbringing. It was always that I was going to be a career woman. That's what I was told from the time I was little. I used to have mock negotiations with my dad, and he always wanted me to be a big, successful career woman. So that was kind of the mindset that I had going into it. I went to Peace College for my first 2 years, which was an incredible experience, being around lots of strong women. And then I went on to UNCW and I graduated in 2009. And as you all probably know, 2009 is in the middle of the Great Recession. So finding a job was very limited. And I never thought that I would end up at Glen Raven or in textiles. Again, my family has been working with Glen Raven for years. My grandfather worked here, almost his entire career, and so has my father. So I never thought that was a path that I'd go down, but I got a job working as credit collections, and I quickly realized that was not what I wanted to do. So again, networking and meeting people and just having that strong will to say yes to opportunities. I spoke with Patti and ended up getting moved into a purchasing planning role where I learned a great deal. And I was there for several years, and it was incredible. It helped me understand all the plants and, all the manufacturing aspects of it. And I got to work with a number of different people there. From that point, I moved into sales and started managing the filtration market, which was water filtration. And again, it opened me up to an area that's kind of where I thought I would go. I thought I would be more in the marketing and sales area. And then this is where starting to say yes to opportunities came about. It was, you're doing the same job, but what if you did that for the military market? Not something I would normally be fit for doing, but I just said, sure, see where this will take us. And I was very lucky that I have a group of people and work for a company that, give me the backing and the confidence to say, okay, I'm going to try this, even though I might feel like an imposter, I might not know what I'm doing. Here we go. I'm going to give this a shot. And then from there, I went to the industrial market, and did lots of other sales. But the thing that I put in here most of it was about my travel. And, you think you want to go, there's some great locations on here. I got to go to Germany and Amsterdam and Italy. But I'll tell you what, I learned just as much from going to Pittsburgh than I did to any of those other areas. It's a big eye-opening situation. I think my most exposure that I got was in the mining industry. On the previous slide, there's only 13% of women who work in the mining industry. And me going into that role and having the confidence to say, I can talk to these people. I know what I'm doing. It was a huge eye-opening situation. And then I reverted back to my purchasing and planning role a little bit with director of operations. And from there, I went and got my MBA at Duke. So throughout all that travel, I knew that I really wanted to get some more global experience. And I wanted to continue to see the world and how people did business in other parts of the world. And I thought that getting my MBA would be more of like just a box that I wanted to check. But the interactions that I had with different people and seeing the way that business operated around the world is really what was most impactful for me there. Patti really drove home the need to want to get involved in your community, and you can learn a lot from seeing how people emulate. I think that's what I got most out of getting my MBA, was just going to all these different places in the world and seeing how people conduct business and how people are leaders in other areas, and then trying to emulate that in the ways that they did it right and the ways that they did it wrong. Again, it's easy to get stuck in a little bubble, but if you open up your eyes and see just what all these different types of people are doing, you can really learn some great leadership tools. And so I think, I've kind of had a lot of loops, and I'd say a lot of, like running in place, and you just learn lots of different things while you're there. And then that prepares you to move on to the next thing. But I definitely think, the last thing I have on my list is starting a family. So hopefully I'll have a lot more of the personal experiences going forward. Most of mine have been professional. So I think that, again, it'll take another turning path, and that's great. I'm going to learn a lot about leadership by being more involved in my community and my family and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see where this road takes me next. So when Patti asked me to do this, she wanted me to focus on what was different for my generation being a leader and women versus what she went through. And I tried really hard to think about it. And the main difference that I see is the amount of women that we have to look up to now. And I don't want to discredit, I have a ton of men mentors, but Patti had one woman listed on her list. That's because it really was limited. There were not many women in the workplace coming up. And now, not only do I have a ton of great women to look up to emulate, to ask advice from, I have a large cohort of women that are leaders in all different areas. And I just think it's so important that we get to learn from each other and support each other in doing this. And I think it's a huge way that we can continue to lift up that pyramid we looked at earlier. So, we see that women are very successful at getting to a middle management role. We are educated. We are, working to do all of these things. And I think that the way that we continue to move up that pyramid is just to continue to support each other and be there and give each other the opportunities. And, working for the company that I do. And again, the industry is a little bit more limiting, but the company that we work for said, all these women that are here, we're going to support you. We're going to be there to help you, move through your career and chase the opportunities that you want to chase, which is great. And then the final thing that, I thought about just wanting to share about leadership is just to advocate. I think that that's how we will continue to, increase as leaders. Glen Raven has been a huge advocate for women in the textile industry. And we're a large sponsor of, the Women in Textiles organization and all of these things. And it gives you the confidence and the base to say, I can be in this meeting. I can talk to these things, I can voice my opinion, and it's going to be heard and it's going to be valued. And then the second is, Patti's been such a great mentor, and I've had such great mentors that I really want to take that seriously and continue to be mentors for the people that are coming below me. Everyone jokes when we talk about our younger generation, and everyone says, well, you are the younger generation, but, we have two 25-year-olds working here for us. To me, that's now the younger generation. Being 35, I'm going into that older category. So just being there to advocate for, all these people entering in the workforce and to make sure that women continue to grow as leaders is just such an important thing to do. Yeah.
Thanks, Mia. Okay, we are certainly open for questions. It was kind of hard to tell how long this presentation will last, but if anyone has questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Ladies, thank you. I'll just jump in, and we certainly want everybody to pipe in on questions that you may have, either verbally or in the chat. I really appreciated both of your presentations. And I have to say, Mia, I was thinking about my own path, and I talk about it being circuitous. And so I was really glad to see your loops in yours. I thought that was really well done. And I heard a rumor that it was a man that first designed the pantyhose. Is that true?
That is true.
My mother worked for Burlington Industries, the Cameo plant in Greensboro when I was a child, and she was quality control on pantyhose early in those days.
Oh, really? That's
yeah.
Yeah, it was actually Mr. Gant. His wife was pregnant. She could not put her girdle on, and a proper woman always wore pantyhose or hose.
Right.
They took safety pins and snapped them to her underwear, her bloomers, and there it started.
Guess what's worse, pantyhose or a girdle?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was also the garter belt. Yeah. That's where those clips came in.
Right, that's true. That's true.
Patti and Mia, you all have a question from Vanessa Bravo in the chat. How have you seen Burlington and Alamance County change or not regarding opportunities for women to lead in different areas?
Gosh, that's hard because, you know, I'm not sure what some of the other companies are doing right now. I do know that when I come into events like this, I get a huge appreciation for the number of women who are playing prominent roles in companies and in government and in school boards and other activities around Alamance County. So I'm not sure, you know, what anybody else's initiatives are as far as advocating for women or promoting women, but it does give the an appearance that as you go to some of these major community events and meetings, you are seeing more and more women who are very prominent and who are running the meetings now, which is very much a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a...
Okay, is that one we need to answer?
Yeah, I think they froze up again.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll pull up the chat and see if I can see this. What do we do for fun and relaxation? Is one of the ones I see.
So I exercise, and I only do that because I have to. To be honest, I do like playing golf. I like to read and garden. But I have always been pretty good about cutting it off when I come home. I have to compartmentalize work and family. I can't let either one come into the other. So when I'm home, I'm 100% concentrating and devoted on my family. I'm not checking emails. I'm not making phone calls. I'm not doing any of that. When I'm at work, they have 100% of me. So that, sorry, our train's coming by right now. But that's how it's worked for me, and that's how I've been able to manage it.
I would say I'm very similar. I do try to cut it off, you know, because you can worry about something or work all the time, but you just have to have a time to cut it off. I will comment on one of our favorite relaxation times that we've been unable to do, and that is to go have a mentorship, which means we're going to have a glass of wine after work.
I like that idea.
And it is so nice just to go, and you don't have to talk about work and you don't have to do anything, but just to go and be with your colleagues. And, you know, we all are friends and we enjoy being around each other, just to go and sit and relax and have a glass of wine and catch up.
Yeah, sometimes it is talking about work too. I mean, sometimes we talk about things that happened. So yeah, it's a good chance for us to give and take there.
Relax a little bit and have a change of scenery and get out and, you know, decompose. Yeah. So,
I'd like to make a comment, Susan, if I may.
Sure.
What a great presentation, ladies. Thank you. I'm so proud of both of you. And I was in manufacturing my whole career in sales, working for international paper and different paper companies. And to see both of you accomplishing what you're accomplishing just makes my heart fly. To know that, and to know that it's happening in Burlington, North Carolina blows me away because I had no idea. Mia, you said one thing I wrote down, and I'm going to put it right in front of my desk because it was kind of my motto. I said it in kind of a crude way, but you said say yes to opportunity.
Yeah.
And when people ask me how I accomplished what I accomplished with a limited education, I told them I was always ready with my shovel when the pile got high. And I'm trying to be nice about it. But when they needed somebody to take on the task and solve the problem, you said yes to it. So I loved your say yes to opportunity. Thank you so much for speaking today and sharing all of your journey with us.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind comments.
Does Glen Raven have a specific mentorship program for women?
Diana may answer that better. I believe we are developing more of a formal process, but we've definitely had an informal process transpiring over the last few years.
And we do have a mentorship program. I know I've had some assigned mentors over the years, but it's not specific to women, which can, you know, give some great opportunities. As Patti mentioned, you know, some of her best mentors have been men. And actually all the mentors that I've been assigned have been men, but it's been incredible to seek their advice. You know, that's where I got, you know, the security. Yes, I'm going to go back and get my MBA was through talking to one of my assigned mentors, and you know, they just give great reference. And but yeah, we do have a mentorship program. It's just not centered around women, but more along young and developing young leaders throughout Glen Raven.
And Patti, there's a great, if you guys had more to add to that, you can, but I had one more question in the chat box and I didn't want to miss it. So what would both of you say to a female high school and or college student about a career in manufacturing, textile manufacturing in particular?
I would highly encourage it because our textile industry is thriving in the U.S. especially. There's fewer of us here, but we're huge and we're very significant. And we all pivoted during COVID and started making masks and isolation gowns. So we were, in many ways, we were a savior to the company by producing PPE. But that's the flexibility and the wherewithal that we have in our company. And I would definitely encourage that. I would encourage, as a matter of fact, we are hiring 2 females starting with us on Monday. One is fresh out of NC State. And part of what we interviewed her on was, we're trying to get a sense for how flexible she is. We're going to hire her for this job, but we want to see that she's got the potential. If we need to put her in sales for a while, do we need to put her in product development for a while? Do we need for her to travel to China for us for a while? So that's what we're looking for when we're interviewing new candidates to come work for us. So yeah, we're looking for some really bright, talented people. And right now, Diana, you know, a lot of strong women coming through, which we're very excited about.
I love that question. How flexible are you?
Yeah.
Because really that's what it's about, right? You're going to have life transitions. You're going to have things that change in your job and your career path. And you've got to be able to be flexible and adapt.
When you look at a resume, you know for sure, yes, that person can do this job. But the key is, can they do about 5 other jobs down the road? And that's what we're looking for. Again, leadership potential.
Mm-hmm.
Are there some others in there?
I think that's all the questions. There are a few just comments. Vanessa Bravo shared that is super interesting because with technology and email, it seems that work time mixes more with home time. She admires both of you and she is not so good at compartmentalizing. Sorry.
It was definitely a challenge during COVID, and I did not have to experience that because my children are grown and away from home, but a lot of our employees, you know, that balance, especially when we were 100% from home, it was definitely a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie, you're being very kind to me.
Well, hold on. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Turn that off. Okay. I think I was just curious the reason why I asked about the students, the high school and college students, is because I just was curious from a HR perspective and a recruiting perspective about the challenges of getting females into manufacturing, into textiles, you know, how, and bringing them to Burlington or any of the other locations that Glen Raven may have. And so I guess it's not just a manufacturing question, but it's more perhaps related to bringing them to a smaller town, but also to an industry that doesn't have that history of employing lots of women and giving them the opportunities and the leadership opportunities. So, you know, that was just kind of my thinking on it, and helping females see that it's a very viable opportunity, and that, as you have explained, the tremendous growth that is there, and the travel opportunities and the professional development. So that is the background of why I asked the question. So I don't know if y'all have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, and you know, it is very interesting, Stephanie, that I have had several high school groups, so we have to do a lot of outreach. And we had one group come in, and one of the young ladies apologized to me on the way out the door. She said because she hadn't dressed very nice because she thought she was going to be going to a dirty plant. So she was shocked, and she was in our new Sunbrella headquarters. And you could tell she was extremely engaged and shocked at what she saw. And at our Sunbrella headquarters too, it's a very contemporary building, and you know, kind of like build it and they will come, and there's so many opportunities beyond what you see there, especially even in technical fabrics, and there's so much outlook, so many more jobs than what they even think. They have no idea. But the Glen Raven Sunbrella building, you know, headquarters in particular, just gives them a really good visual because there's so many beautiful fabrics. It's kind of like a candy store for them. So, you know, it's what they see is what they get kind of when they're that age. So wowing them with visuals has been one of our kind of ways of getting them more involved, and then showing them deeper, you know, what they can do and what technical jobs are out there. But I also invite students from Elon. Our campuses almost bump up against each other. And the students that come from Elon, I have them come over and have a cup of coffee at our coffee shop. They're like, what is going on here? They're like, don't bring a whole bunch of people over here because they're all going to want jobs here. So it's very interesting, the perception of younger people and career paths. They're very, very into the visual aspects of it and want to see what's going on and what's behind the screen, so to speak. So that's been one of our, kind of go-tos, is just trying to get the word out and getting them to understand their parents can be a barrier sometimes, because as Patti was saying, and that, look how long ago that was, Patti, that your, mother said, yeah, we think you should go into music. You should, you should maybe be a teacher. You should do something like that. Their parents tell them, oh, you don't want to be in textiles. That's a dirty plant. Wear some old jeans or some old clothes if you're going to go look at that. So it's changing a lot of people's perspective and getting the word out and, doing more marketing from an HR perspective. But it is very interesting. That's a great question. We ask that question all the time too, Stephanie. How are we going to do this bigger, better, more, do better marketing? So thank you for asking that.
So ladies, Stephanie actually leads our strategic planning committee, and they've got a meeting this afternoon. What words of advice would you have for our strategic planning committee, for our board, as they set the direction for the Women's Resource Center here in the community for the next several years? What do you see as the need for women in the community?
Mia, you want to start?
Yeah, I'd love to. I think the biggest need for it, and one of the hardest things to do, is just getting out and voicing all the opportunities that are available to women. The first question that we had, Patti, was how do you think Alamance County is doing with women in leadership? And, we know a lot about what some charitable organizations are doing. We know a lot about what Glen Raven is doing, but just voicing what all of these local employers and, social clubs and charities are doing to give women opportunities in leadership and ways to develop their leadership, I think is great. And the number one thing, because just hearing more about it, it kind of, feeds the fire. When everybody knows about opportunities, they get excited about it and just makes them want to continue to do more and more. So that's the thing I could think that would be most beneficial.
Thank you. Does anybody else have other questions or comments that you'd like to offer? Well, we thank you so very much for your time today. It's been quite inspiring listening to you and to your paths of leadership and the work that Glen Raven is doing. So we want to thank you and invite all of you back in August, hopefully in person at Alamance Country Club, where we'll kick off another season of Working Women's Wednesday. We thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We've enjoyed it.
You all have a great day.